Hey everyone, welcome to Data Millennials. I'm Atul, and in this video we are going to discuss how we can apply or use case statement in calculated field within Looker or Google Data Studio to evaluate a logical AND condition. So as you can see here in my table, which is present over here, I have a column named as exporter details. But if I'll show you my raw data, then you can see that we do not have any exporter details column over here. So a common use of case statement is to create new categories or grouping of data based on the evaluation of data values using logical AND condition, and that is what we are going to do over here in this video. So let's assume an example saying that you have to select a group of categories of item and put it into a exporter group based on certain conditions. So let's look at the condition first and then we'll try to understand how we can do that. So we have this condition over here saying that if category is equal to category 1 and 2 and unit price is less than 35, then it's a third party item. If category is 1 or 2, unit price is greater than 35 and less than 75, then it's an international party item. If the category is 1, 2, unit price is greater than 75 or equal to 75, then it's a owned product item. Similarly, we have multiple conditions over here which will basically help us to group or to create a new column which will basically specify whether it's an exported item or not, or kind of a group. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create this column using this data source over here, which we have, where we have category, we have date on which it was sold, we have quantity sold, unit price, last bought price, and change in price. Okay, and if you see this condition, not a category condition, you will see that we have to use two columns to create a new column, and those two columns are category, which is present over here, this column category, then we have this unit price, which we have over here, where unit price, and for each row we have to create a new column. For example, we can create a new column over here and we will be evaluating the condition based on this column and this column, and then we are going to give the value for the new column. Okay, and you can see in this page 1 we have a graph over here and we have a table over here, and using the calculated field I have created three columns over here saying that owned product item, third party product item, international party item. For each category we have these three exporter type value, and this can be done using a case statement with the AND logical condition, and using this we have created this graph also, which we will be discussing when we will be creating it. So let's see this condition again over here. Okay, so we have multiple conditions given and we have to create these three columns. Okay, let's understand data first. So we have category column over here where we have 5 different categories. Then we have date on which the category item was sold, how many items were sold, what were their unit price, what was their last bought price, and what is the change in price as of today. Okay, so for us the major two column is these two, category and unit price. So let's go and click on edit to create this calculated field where we will be using case statement with the logical AND condition. So let me go to page 2 and copy this condition over here which I have, so that I can directly use this condition in my formula. But if you have multiple conditions, I'll tell you how to implement those conditions or use those conditions within your case statement with a logical AND condition. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new page. The moment you will click on page and new page, you will see that Looker will allow you to add a new page over here, and from my page 1 I'm just going to copy these three headers and put it over here. Let me increase the size of this. Okay, now the first thing that I need to do is that I need to create a table which will show the exporter type based on these two columns, which is category and unit price. Okay, in order to add a table, what you can do is that you can come on add a chart and you can click on table, and Looker will allow you to add a table. So I have been able to add a table, but if I'll show you this table, then you have these three columns over here, right? And it can only be produced in a pivot table. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to delete this table and I'm going to add a new table from the pivot table section. So I'm going to select this pivot table section and put it over here. So let's increase the size of this pivot table. Okay, and the moment you will add a table, you will see that Looker will by default take a data source if any data source is present in your report, and if not, then you can add your data source by clicking on add data, and based on your preference you can select any Google connector and import your data in your Looker dashboard. So for me, I have already used this data GDS67, so I'm going to keep this data as it is. Else what you can do is that another way that you can click on setup and select data from here also. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a calculated field within our data. So to do that, what I have to do is that I have to click on add a field, and then I have to give the name. So I'm going to give the name as exporter type underscore version 1, and I'm going to give the formula over here. So for us the formula will be case statement saying that case, then I have to give the condition saying that when category. So let me copy that list of conditions over here. Okay, so the condition is saying that when category is these two categories. Okay, so I'm going to say when category in category 1 and category 2 and the unit price value is less than 35, then put it as third party item. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this line which I have just created and put it down again, and change the unit price value saying that unit price is greater than equal to 35 and unit price is less than 75. Then change it to international party item. Then again we are going to give a new condition over here saying that when condition is in 1 and 2 and unit price is greater than equal to 75, then we have to give own product item. So for these three lines I have created, or I have written it down over here or typed it down over here, right? So these three lines I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to use these three lines which I had in my conditions and replace the if keyword over here with the when condition. And I'm going to explain each line one by one. Okay, so the first thing that we are saying over here is that when category is in category 1 and category 2 and unit price is this and 35, then put it as a third party item. And over here you can see that we are using AND condition, which will basically evaluate that whether the condition is true for these two or not. So it means that the category should be 1 or 2 as well as the unit price should be less than 35. So for second line it's saying that the category should be equal to 1 or 2 and unit price is less than 75 and greater than 35. Similarly, the third line says that when category is 1 or 2, unit price should be greater than 75, then put the value as own price, own produced item. So this way you can basically merge multiple conditions using the AND logical conditions, and based on the evaluation of those conditions, the output will be created. Okay, so in last, what I'm going to do is that either I can put a else statement by saying else return 0 or else return blank, and then we can say in this statement over here. Then we have to click on save and click on finish, and the moment you will click on finish, you will see that you have a new column over here which says exporter type version 1, and it's a text column. So instead of this record count, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take this exporter type version 1 and put it over here and remove this record count. And the moment I'll do that, you will see that you have this category and you have the count over here. But the funny part is that you're getting 4, 3, 3. What is this? It doesn't make sense, because in this table over here in page 1, you have the category, you have your new column category over here saying that own product, third party item, and you have the unit price values, right? So we need to change it this table needs to be changed a little bit. So when you have selected this pivot table, you have the row dimension as category, you have the column dimension as region column, and by mistake what we have done is that we have taken this export type and put it into metric. Instead of metric, we need to put it into column dimension, and we need to take the unit price and put it as metric over here, so that we can get each of these columns over here as our categories. Now if you want to replicate this graph that we had over here in our page 1 for these 3 columns that we have, what you can do is that you can basically come over here on add a chart, and you can select any chart based on your requirement. So let's select this time series chart and put it over here. And the moment you selected this chart or created this chart on your Looker page, you will see that by default Looker has selected the date range dimension, this dimension, as well as the metric, which is unit price. But what we have to show over here is that we have to show the new categories that we have created, which says own product, own produced item, third party item, international party item, against each of the categories. But we are not going to show categories over here. We are just going to compare this values on a day-to-day basis. So we are going to create calculated field over here in metric using this new calculated field which we had created, which is exporter type version 1. So I'm just going to click over here either on this unit price, or you can click on add metric, then you can click on create field, and you have to give the field name. So for us, let's give the field name as third party item, and then we have to give the formula over here. So we will be saying case when this column name, which is exporter type version 1, so I'm going to put when below. So when this exporter type version 1 is equal to third party item, then take the value of unit price, else take the value as 0 and end it. Let me copy this formula so that I don't need to type all of these again and again. So the moment you will finish your case statement, you will see that you have this formula syntax is valid or not, which will evaluate this formula, and either it will put a tick mark or it will put a cross mark. So our formula is correct. So we can click on apply, and then you will see that you have a new calculated metric or column over here saying that third party item. We can remove this unit price from here, and similarly we can create a new calculated field for this own produced item. So if I click on add metric, create a field, and we'll say own produced, and I'm going to put the formula which I copied previously, and instead of this third party item, I'm gonna say own produced item. Then we have to take the unit price, okay, else take 0, and we'll click on apply. And the last column that we are going to add is the international party item. So I'm going to say international, okay, and the formula will remain same. Instead of this third party item, we are going to say international party item. So let me replace this third with international, and I can click on apply, and you will see that you have the graph over here. The only difference in this graph and in this graph is the data points that we are showing. So let's go to style and select show data points, show data label. Let's change, or let's keep the color as it is for now. Instead of this, let's take black. Show data points, show data label. Similarly, we have over here show data points and show data label. Now if I click on view, you will see that you have a similar graph over here as well as the table which we had in our page 1. So this is how basically you can create a calculated field to evaluate a logical AND condition using the case statement in Looker or Google Data Studio. Happy learning and see you in the next video.